From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is U.S. Farm Report.
Welcome to U.S. Farm Report this weekend. I'm Tyne Morgan, and here's what's in store over the next 60 minutes. Finally, some clarity on crops that qualify for sustainable aviation fuel, and not everyone is all in.
This is an all or none approach, meaning all three of these practices must be adopted on your corn acres in order to qualify. No-till, a cover crop, and enhanced efficiency fertilizer.
The long-awaited GREET model is finally here, but critics say it puts corn ethanol at a disadvantage.
This doesn't even rise to the level of a dud.
Plus, a first look at the Farm Bill. Both the Senate and House release an overview. We have the latest. And the beginning of the petroleum industry in the U.S.
So they didn't even have the tools to actually cap the oil to stop it from spewing out. So it took them 9 days. And you can just imagine that the land all around was just covered in oil.
How striking oil changed the course of history today.
U.S. Farm Report, presented by Pioneer. What's next happens when experience meets expertise. Pioneer. What's next happens here.
Now for the news. It's the news the biofuels industry and farmers have been waiting to hear. The release of what biofuels will qualify for sustainable aviation fuel tax credits based on an update to the GREET model. The SAF credit will be $1.25 for each gallon of sustainable aviation fuel. To qualify, the SAF must have a minimum reduction of 50% in greenhouse gas emissions. Additionally, there is supplemental credit of 1 cent for each percent after that. The new model will recognize greenhouse gas reductions from carbon capture and sequestration, renewable natural gas, and renewable power used to produce ethanol for qualifying SAF. It will also include a so-called safe harbor pilot program for corn ethanol produced with climate-smart agricultural practices like no-till, cover crops, and enhanced efficiency fertilizer. Ag Secretary Tom Vilsack saying the announcement is an important stepping stone as it acknowledges the important role farmers can play in lowering greenhouse gas emissions. But not everyone is in agreement with the plan. We'll take a closer look at it coming up in our Farm Journal reports. Also this week, House and Senate Ag leadership releasing what they would like to see in the next Farm Bill. The Senate plan proposed by Ag Committee leader Democrat Debbie Stabenow of Michigan would enhance USDA's ability to use updates of the Thrifty Food Plan for raising SNAP benefits and would move conservation programs from the Inflation Reduction Act into the Farm Bill, making those permanent. The proposal aims to support farmers, families, and rural communities with specific increases in reference prices for certain crops and mandatory funding for rural development. House Republican leaders providing their own outline, which includes increases for price loss coverage and agricultural risk coverage. Something similar is also in the Senate version. There are also plans to bolster dairy programs and enhance disaster programs in both. House Ag Committee leadership says a markup of their bill will take place on Thursday, May 23rd. Stabenow emphasized her intent to negotiate with key congressional members, including Ranking Senate Ag Member John Bozeman and House Ag Committee Chairman G.T. Thompson, before scheduling a markup. Well, another rule coming out of Washington, this time from the Labor Department, regarding the H-2A program. It announced a final rule it says will strengthen protections for farm workers, adding new protections when it comes to self-advocacy, including the right to invite guests, including labor organizations, to their employer-furnished housing. It clarifies for cause termination, giving workers the right to 3/4 of their payment in a work contract unless they are terminated for cause. It also improves transportation safety, requiring workers to wear a seatbelt, prevents labor exploitation and human trafficking, along with ensuring employer accountability. The rule is due to take effect at the end of June. And the ag industry taking new steps to fight back against avian influenza in dairy cattle. But USDA also announcing it has started testing ground beef for the virus as a precaution. The agency saying it's doing 3 separate beef safety studies. First, it's sampling ground beef bought at grocery stores in states where dairy cattle have tested positive for H5N1. It announced those results showed no particles of the virus were present in the meat. Officials are also taking samples of muscle tissue from sick cows, culled from their herd. Another study involves cooking beef to see how much virus is killed at different temperatures. USDA saying that it is confident the meat supply is safe and there are multiple safeguards in place to protect consumers. And severe storms and tornadoes tore across the Midwest and the plains this week. We start in Oklahoma, where officials confirmed at least 4 people were killed, including an infant, after a tornado struck there last Saturday night. One of the hardest hit towns is Sulphur, where an EF3 tornado touched down. But the state saw one EF4 tornado and at least 2 EF3 storms. Damage in the state was reported from the northern Oklahoma all the way to the Red River. Since last Friday, 198 tornadoes have been reported, according to the National Weather Service, marking the second most active April for tornadoes on record in the U.S. All right, that's it for the news. Well, what's behind the string of severe weather that we're seeing across the U.S.? We'll ask our meteorologist next.
A challenge is not something to shy from. It's a chance to step up your game, and meet change head on. A call to get your hands dirty and your data clean. A new reason to refocus, reinvigorate, and refine your efforts. With every new challenge comes a choice. Back down or rise to it. The enhanced Channel Seed brand. Rise to the challenge.
Cardinal Scale manufactures a wide variety of truck and livestock scales from our factory in the nation's heartland. The Wade Wrangler LSM Series mobile cattle scales feature breathable X-Lug flooring that avoids sewage congestion. The trailing arm is superior to the competition and has a hinge point that absorbs any shock when the scale is being transported. An optional solar panel is available to help top off the battery. Cardinal Scale has a nationwide network of dealers standing by to provide sales, delivery, installation, and service on your next ag scale. Learn more at cardinalscale.com.
Your wallet is always in danger. Criminals can hack your information without you even knowing. Introducing Slim Mint, an ultra-thin RFID blocking wallet that keeps your cards and cash protected. Slim Mint uses the latest RFID blocking technology to prevent thieves from stealing your info. It's ergonomically designed to optimize space and keep your belongings organized. With the auto-locking Slim Mint, your cards and money stay securely in place. It has a built-in cash clip and a flexible outer band to fit your additional cards and cash. Call or click now and get Slim Mint for just $29.99. Order in the next 5 minutes and you'll get an instant $10 discount. So it's only $19.99. But wait, due to rising costs, this may be your last chance to get Slim Mint at this low price. There's a strict limit of 3 Slim Mint wallets while supplies last. Don't wait, order now.
Call 1-800-605-4697. Call or visit slimmintwallet.com. So call 1-800-605-4697 now.
U.S. Farm Report weather is brought to you by H&S Manufacturing. Maximize baleage yield with less time and effort with the LW1100 line wrap bale wrapper. You can wrap round or square bales, and the automatic operating mode allows for a one-person operation.
Well, a string of severe weather wreaking havoc across the U.S. Meteorologist Martin Lourimore joining us now with weather this week. Martin, when we look at not just the severity of the storms, but the deluge of rain that it's bringing to parts of the U.S. right now, even though we are transitioning away from El Nino, is this still El Nino related?
And we're watching this weekend for the possibility of some of those storms rolling through as we head into this next several days. For here on our Farm Report, talking more about the possibility of those strong storms making their way across parts of the central part of the U.S. It's definitely looking we could be seeing some of the heavier rainfall across parts of northwestern Texas and parts of even Oklahoma and Arkansas. Plenty of also rain and mixed in with a little bit of snow out parts of Montana as well. Those higher elevations could be seeing the snowfall, and already watching in the Pacific Northwest for another system to roll its way through, bringing in some more snow again in those higher elevations. That flooding potential does look pretty intense as we get into our Friday and Saturday, especially watching this right here. That's what we're watching closely. That possibility looking very high again in that area of northwest Texas, southwest Oklahoma. This will shift its way into eastern Oklahoma and western Arkansas, clipping a little bit of Kansas and Missouri in there as well, in that 15 to 40% chance to see that possibility of flooding. So good area right here. Plenty of rain going to be coming down as we get into that Sunday, and it's still not really going anywhere into our Monday with this next system moving into our north. I'm going to show you that with a jet stream. As you can see, the drought monitor, some places do need it, especially out toward parts of southeastern New Mexico, stretching into southern Texas. Moving moving to our north, actually seeing the possibility and right now going on of a flash drought in parts of western Kansas. They haven't seen a whole lot of rain with this big uptick in temperatures, causing a lot of that moisture in the water to almost immediately evaporate. Also still seeing a couple pockets in that extreme drought in parts of Iowa as well. Now, as we look at the jet stream, there's that cold front and that associated low pressure making its way through. It's going to bring down much cooler air into the parts of the mountainous regions, Cascades, Sierra Nevadas, Rockies, all of the above. We'll be seeing that possibility for some of that snowfall still moving through. It's still May, but we're still seeing snow. That low pressure will continue its way across parts of the northern plains and possibly bring in some stronger storms across areas of just around the Great Lakes, the western Great Lakes, maybe trying to stretch into portions of the greater Great Lakes overall. But still plenty of active weather. It is May after all. Still watching luckily as we could start drying out a little bit in areas that have seen plenty of rainfall in the southern part of the country as we get into our next work week.
Well, grains and oilseeds having a big day on Thursday. What fueled that? Plus, taking a look at the cattle market and the impact that highly pathogenic avian influenza is having on prices. We'll do all of that with Don Close and Matt Bennett when we come back.
Ask any farmer, and they'll tell you. With every passing season, seems like there's less and less that can be controlled out here. That's why we created the new Fendt Rogator 900 series, the industry's first rear boom sprayer with 2-height adjustable clearance. Now, if only the weather could be controlled like this.
Are you having trouble hearing your TV or listening to conversations in loud spaces? Then it might be time to consider Nano hearing aids. Don't mistake Nanos for cheap amplifiers. Nanos are FDA-registered OTC hearing aids, which means no more having to go to a doctor and spend thousands. Nano hearing aids are now offering $100 off through this special TV offer. Order right now and get 2 CIC rechargeable hearing aids for only $297. And if you're not happy, return them for a full refund.
Are you thinking of buying a stair lift? This essential free guide will answer all your questions. You can find out how a stair lift can improve your life in a few easy steps with this free guide packed full of detailed information. All of your questions answered. What should I think about when buying a stair lift? What type of stair lift will suit my home? What difference can a stair lift make in my life? Answers to these and many more with this free guide to buying a stair lift. A stair lift can be crucial to you staying independent in your own home. They were invented to make your life easier, and this free practical guide, produced with the help of Acorn Stair Lifts, will make it easier for you to choose the one that's right for you. So call now, 1-800-914-0076 for your free copy of your guide to buying a stair lift, and have all of your stair lift questions answered today. 1-800-914-0076.
Welcome back to U.S. Farm Report this weekend. Don Close and Matt Bennett joining us. All right, Don, bit of good news when it comes to the beef market this week, and we have been on a roller coaster ride when it comes to cattle. But USDA saying late on Wednesday that all of the ground beef samples sent to the National Veterinary Services laboratories for PCR testing came back negative for the H5N1 virus. USDA saying these results affirm the U.S. meat supply is safe, and boy, did we see cattle react.
Thank goodness. You know, when the real part here is just the combination of factors we're dealing with, the tight supplies, where we're at seasonally with that April-June rollover and the basis switch there. And then we had the H5N1 on top of it. It just, volatility is going to continue to be a mega factor in the market.
Don, it's not like this story is over. We continue to see headlines hit about avian influenza and the impact in dairy. That continues to put volatility into this cattle market. So as you move forward, what are the watch outs for beef producers at this point?
Well, obviously with the market reaction today, the big one was with the ground beef testing that has been done, and we've got an all clear sign there. We're still waiting on the results of the testing of the muscle cuts from the dairy cows in the cow plants. We get a green light there, it's going to take a huge level of stress out of this market. But just because where we're at in that whole cattle cycle, even when we get past this H5N1 situation, I think the market volatility is going to be a way bigger factor for us, certainly for the summer, than net price risk.
Well, Thursday, a big day for the grains and oilseeds as well, Matt. We saw prices surge. What is the market seeing as a bullish factor right now?
You know, I want to hesitate to get too friendly based upon weather. Obviously, overall planting numbers aren't too bad. You plant 27% of the crop by this time of the year. It's not a horrible number. Clearly, Illinois is behind, Eastern Corn Belt's behind. And I've got to think that the funds who don't like carrying a short position, and they've got a big short position in corn yet, they don't like to do that going into the heart of the growing season. And so, I think technically a couple of different things happened there on Thursday. July beans, climbed above the 50-day moving average. And then as they did so, a lot of buying showed up in the marketplace. And quite frankly, it showed up all across corn and soybeans. So awfully good day there on Thursday.
Yeah, you mentioned planting progress. USDA saying that 27% of the U.S. corn crop is planted, 18% of the soybean crop. I mean, it's early May, so we're not late by any means. You mentioned some of the states that are behind, but as we move forward, as we see more rain in the forecasted areas, do you think this could be a catalyst?
Yeah, I mean, part of the problem, Tyne, yes, you're 27%. It's not a horrible number. But again, some of the areas, like particularly where I'm at in central Illinois, we're wet already, and then we're forecasted to get rain by the weekend. And then the 14-day forecast, I believe 10 days, we've got a chance of at least 40%. And so, you get into Indiana and Ohio, and a lot of folks haven't turned a wheel yet. The problem is not just the time of the year, it's that you've also got a wet forecast on top of it. So it's certainly going to provide some support. Back in 2019, when you really took off, and let's face it, 2019 was way behind where we're at as we sit today. But when we really took off was about the 12th. And so it'll be very interesting to see if we follow the same trajectory, if we stay wet.
Well, that rain is providing some relief in some of these pastures. So could that change when we rebuild this cattle herd? We're going to ask Don Close that question next.
You like to keep your beard perfectly groomed, but your hair shavings fly everywhere, and she hates that mess. It's impossible to clean up. Introducing VacuTrim by Bell & Howell, the total body electric shaver that trims your hair and vacuums it up at the same time. VacuTrim has 20 precise trim length settings built in, so you just dial and trim, groom, shape and edge without any messy whiskers in the sink. VacuTrim's ultra-sharp stainless steel blades give you a precision cut, while the built-in vacuum captures all the trimmed hair. VacuTrim's vacuum action is so powerful, just watch how it cleans up all this hair. Don't fumble with attachments. Snap on the guide to shape your beard, edge sideburns, or remove the guide to tame unwanted body hair. Get your VacuTrim for only $39.95, and we'll even ship it to you free. Order now.
Call 1-800-263-3960 or go to vacutrim.com. So call 1-800-263-3960. That's 1-800-263-3960 or go online to vacutrim.com.
Smell funky? Get Skunky, the shower anywhere sponges that clean all your funky parts from your head to your feet and everything in between. Just add water, work it into a rich lather, and it's ready to use. Skunky effectively lifts and removes oil and dirt from your skin and hair without any rinsing required. Just towel dry and you're done without any sticky residue. Skunky is ideal for contractors or anyone who works outdoors. A hiking, fishing, or camping trip wouldn't be complete without Skunky. Skunky is a game changer for all ages and a must for elder care. Call now and get 20 Skunky 60-second shower pads for only $9.99. But wait, order now and we'll send you 5 more absolutely free. That's 25 showers for only $9.99. There's a strict limit of 1 family pack per order at this incredibly low price. Order now.
To order, call 1-800-518-7186 or visit GetSkunky.com. That's GetSkunky.com. Order now.
Welcome back to U.S. Farm Report. Don Close and Matt Bennett joining us once again. Don, Matt was talking about the rains and how we are seeing some planting delays in some areas, but that rain is helping pasture conditions in some of those areas as well, rain conditions, as we see some relief come in the picture. Does that change your outlook on when we rebuild this cattle herd?
I think it's absolutely the first step that we have to go into before we can start recovery. Also think there's the secondary factor there, besides a lot of these producers simply not having the grass conditions to think about expanding. But we've also seen a situation that the balance sheet for a lot of these guys, they've simply told us, look, we're going to continue to sell our calves to restore the balance sheet before we leap into expanding. So I think this is a step-by-step process, but clearly the rain we've had over so much of this grass areas is hugely supportive for the long-term play.
When you look at some of these systems and where the rain has hit, it's really been the haves and the have-nots. I mean, Matt, when you look at the Western Plains and specifically some of those wheat production areas, we're expecting rain in the coming week that could cause flooding in some areas. Just crazy to talk about that. Yet central and southwest Kansas, southeast Colorado, that continues to be really dry. Do we see weather playing a role right now in the wheat market?
I think that you do. I mean, you've definitely seen, for instance, KC Wheat gain on Chicago, and I think it makes sense due to some of the weather concerns you've got in the Western Plains. And then, of course, soft red crop looks really good. And so that kind of price action makes sense to me. I think one thing to watch, I mean, right now, certainly it's been feast to famine, famine to feast. But one thing to watch moving forward is how dry it's been in the area. You talked about the Panhandle of Texas, Oklahoma, and southwestern Kansas. Lots of times you can have that type of situation spread. And I know that a lot of folks have forecasted that this could be a very dry summer in the Western Plains, Western Corn Belt. I don't know. I think that it's something to keep an eye on moving forward. I hope that this continued rain happens, especially to help build pastures. But I don't think that we're out of the woods necessarily just yet as far as drought talk is concerned on a grand scale.
We've talked a lot about supply. Don, let's switch gears for demand. Fed officials signaling this week that a cut to interest rates is possible this year, despite no further progress on inflation. When you look at the current demand picture, you look at cold storage, you look at some of that data that we have right now, how is the demand story in the U.S.?
The demand story for all species has been incredibly solid. The leading the pack on that, the gains that beef has had over the other species continues to hold. At the very same time, as we've gone through this series of earnings reports, we're seeing a slow. We saw the Starbucks results yesterday. We've seen a lot of the earnings from quick serve restaurants. They're showing some stress. That there's certainly that lower level of consumers are feeling the inflationary pressure. So today we're still good. Is it something that we have to pay attention to going forward? Yes, it is.
All right. And Matt, let's look at the demand picture for grains too. I know we're in planting season, so there's a lot of focus on supply, but any developments on the demand front that we need to be paying attention to?
We're still running ahead on corn sales. It's a good sign as far as exports are concerned. A lot will be determined by what size this safrinha crop is out of Brazil, which seems to be in decent shape for the time being. As far as ethanol goes, we kind of slowed down a little bit on this spring shutdown that some people go through as far as maintenance is concerned. Numbers bounce back a little bit this week. Margins are pretty darn good. And so I've got to think that these ethanol numbers will be strong moving forward. I could see the USDA having to bump up demand again, as we move closer to harvest time. Whether we get a 50 million bushel bump overall, I think that it's certainly a possibility. I don't know that you get much more than that just yet. But the bottom line, anything we can do to chip into this carryout certainly would help.
Yep. All right, Matt, Don, thank you for joining us this weekend. We need to take a quick break, and then we're checking in with Machinery Pete for Tractor Tales this weekend.
Watch Markets Now with Michelle Rook on the Farm Journal YouTube channel, keeping you updated throughout the day on the markets at the open, midday, and close. Find out what moved the markets today and what to expect the market to do next.
God gave us one planet. I dare to say He gave us everything we need. But if agriculture isn't profitable, I can't do it over and over.
The $20 billion for these conservation programs, it's a way for us to make sure that agriculture in America stays viable for the long term.
To threaten the funding available for all of us is a really dangerous place to play politics.
These conservation practices are really paying off. Our sugar beets have gone from 18 ton to we're pushing 35 to 40 ton now.
After we had seen the benefits, it's just like, holy smokes, we got to do more of this.
Farmers are
the heartbeat of rural America. And if they can maintain their stability, then we can continue to be one of the most safe and food secure countries in the world.
If you or a loved one has mesothelioma or any other asbestos-related cancer, call now. Asbestos manufacturers sold deadly asbestos materials to thousands of companies, putting workers at risk. An estimated $30 billion in court-ordered trusts have been set aside to pay out claims to asbestos victims. You may be entitled to a portion of these funds and receive compensation without filing a lawsuit or ever going to court.
For your free legal consultation, call 800-281-7095. That's 800-281-7095. I'm a non-attorney spokesperson.
The doctor said I had a 29% chance to find a blood stem cell donor. But I knew you were out there. And when we matched, it was the best day ever. Dear donor, your blood stem cells saved me from leukemia. Thank you forever and ever and ever.
Experience the true joy of saving a life at nmdp.org.
Hey folks, welcome back to Tractor Tales. This week we're off to Ohio again, and this time we're going to check out a classic John Deere H still in its work clothes.
This is my dad's 1939 John Deere H. Come on. He had bought it used for a hog farming operation. We farrowed hogs, needed something to pull a manure spreader. It was pretty rough by the time I was even born. Mostly sat in the barn a lot. Everything was deteriorating by the time I came along. Wheelbarrow and shovels worked well for when, that's how I grew up. When it came to my house, it had flat tires. It hadn't run since I believe 1973 or 4, something in there. Had the carburetor rebuilt. Had to put the exhaust on. The tires were totally shot. The wife bought me tires. Changed the oil, cleaned it out several times. It's gonna need it again, but I wanted to, clean the crankcase out and stuff like that. But other than that, she runs good. I've seen a lot of John Deere H's. I've never seen one must have came with an upgraded seat. It's the only one I've ever seen. They always have just the regular straight bar coming back. If it was anything like the ground around here, it's pretty rough, hard dirt. I think we're just gonna clean the oil up on this one and whatnot like that, because Dad would have liked it that way, just kept it original and stuff like that. But no, paint, I don't think so. Now that the tires are able to have air in them, in my barn, I wheel it around so I can sweep around them and stuff like that, and it's just nice and little. They need to stay in the family.
It's the token that was needed for corn-based sustainable aviation fuel to take flight. But the new GREET model that was just released this week isn't setting well with everyone. What does it mean for farmers and ethanol producers? That's our Farm Journal report right after the break.
You're watching U.S. Farm Report. Trusted, timely, tradition.
As we first told you about in our news block, we now have guidance from the Biden administration when it comes to the tax credits that will be provided under the Inflation Reduction Act for the production of sustainable aviation fuel, or SAF. The government releasing the updated GREET model just this week. And there is a lot to unpack, especially when it comes to the impact on corn and soybean farmers. Farm Journal's Michelle Rook has been digging into the latest and what it means and why it's garnering mixed reactions. Michelle?
Yeah, the sustainable aviation fuel tax credit guidance was a bit disappointing to some in the biofuels industry because it was more stringent than they had hoped for. Eligibility requires either carbon capture or for farmers to adopt climate-smart ag practices. However, there are some in the industry saying that at least the acknowledgement of the GREET model was a partial victory. Producers of sustainable aviation fuel under the new 40B GREET model are eligible for a tax credit of $1.25 to $1.75 per gallon. To be eligible, refiners must demonstrate their fuel is 50% lower in emissions than petroleum jet fuel. For corn-based ethanol, that will require farmers bundle 3 climate-smart ag practices.
This is an all or none approach, meaning all 3 of these practices must be adopted on your corn acres in order to qualify. No-till, a cover crop, and enhanced efficiency fertilizer.
Jennings says this is too restrictive, especially as cover crops can't be used in every geography, so it won't result in the volume of SAF the administration was hoping for.
Well, we don't have any information from USDA on their estimates for how many acres of corn production in the United States have all 3 of these practices being adopted. My guess is it's very little.
Soybean oil barely qualifies for the $1.25 40B tax credit, but SAF is eligible for an additional penny per gallon for each percentage point the reduction exceeds 50%, up to 50 cents. That can be achieved for soy-based SAF by again overcoming hurdles.
In the case of soybeans, that includes using some degree of cover crops, as well as no-till practices, which are all defined by USDA.
Still, they believe the recognition of the GREET model is a victory for the future.
Do we agree with all of the conclusions in the model? Absolutely not. But do we believe it was a step in the right direction? 100%.
The new model also recognizes greenhouse gas reductions from carbon pipelines, renewable natural gas, and renewable power in combination with CSA practices.
Carbon capture and sequestration technology, which a lot of ethanol producers are making investments in as we speak, indeed is an approved technology under that model.
The guidance specifically for the 40B tax credit for the rest of 2024 won't help farmers, according to Farm Journal CPA Paul Neefer.
But the problem is based on their requirements inside of the regulations that they issued. There's 50,000 bushels of corn in the United States that could qualify for this. I think it's worthless. I mean, from a tax standpoint for the SAF producer, it really has no value.
Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley is pushing back on the model because he says bureaucrats shouldn't tell farmers how to grow their corn, and by limiting grain feedstocks, the rule excludes farmers from this potential market in favor of big ag.
First, this formula is going to be easy to violate. Second, without grain in the formula, there won't be enough feedstock to make all the sustainable aviation fuel that environmentalists are crying for. To put it bluntly, this GREET model update is a stupid approach.
However, with Treasury leaving pathways under the 45Z clean fuel production tax credit going into effect on January 1st of 2025, the biofuels industry is looking ahead.
Are there opportunities for improvement as we move down the road and implement some of the other tech neutral carbon intensity investment tax credits or producers tax credits? Absolutely.
That 45Z tax credit is going to be more flexible. The requirement that you have to bundle 3 climate smart agriculture practices on your corn acres in order to even qualify will not be part of the 45Z tax credit. And so I do think we'll have more opportunities and more flexibility for both farmers and biofuel producers to benefit from that in the future.
So they'll be working with Treasury Department and USDA to seek greater flexibility in the future. And the sooner the better, so farmers have time to plan.
I think, Michelle, the bottom line is the IRS and DOE, in order for a farmer to know what they need to do for 45Z, they need to get guidance out now.
I'm Michelle Rook for U.S. Farm Report.
Thanks, Michelle. Well, Farm Journal Washington correspondent Jim Wiesmeyer calling the new model a dud. We'll tell you why in Chip's Corner. But first, an arrest in Ukraine and a new warning from the WHO about the spread of avian flu. Ag Around the World is next.
Out here, sunrise only means one thing. It's go time. Go rake some hay. Go bale some hay. Go check on the herd. Go get the job done right with equipment built to do all the hard work and make it look easy. Morning, noon, and night. Kubota equipment. Built right, built ready.
What do you do when your tire goes flat and there's no air anywhere? You reach for Bullseye Pro, the smarter, faster, hands-free way to fill it up with air. Bullseye Pro is equipped with a rechargeable power plant, smart pressure sensor, and custom nozzles. It's like the power of an air compressor in the palm of your hand. Get your complete Bullseye Pro inflation system for just $79.99 and get free shipping. Plus, we'll give you a 50% discount on a second one. Order now.
This is a paid advertisement for legal services. Have you been sexually assaulted or harassed in an Uber? Lawsuits allege rideshare companies failed to properly screen drivers, putting passengers' safety at risk. If you've experienced sexual assault or harassment during an Uber ride, you may be entitled to compensation.
Call Sokolov Law today at 1-800-548-6527. 1-800-548-6527. That's 1-800-548-6527. I'm a paid non-attorney spokesperson.
Now for a glimpse of agriculture around the world. The World Health Organization is sounding an alarm right now about avian flu, saying that there is a risk of the virus spreading to cows in other countries due to migratory birds. However, the head of the organization's global influenza program said the overall public health risk to the virus is still low. It did urge vigilance. Ukraine's agriculture minister was taken into custody last week as part of a corruption probe. Mykola Solskyu is accused of being involved in illegally seizing land worth more than $7 million from 2017 to 2018. This is before he became the ag minister. He denies the allegations but resigned last week. He was released on bail. He is the country's highest official to be accused of corruption by a court since Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022. The world's largest fertilizer maker is looking to get out of 3 countries in order to focus on Brazil. Bloomberg reporting Nutrien plans to sell its retail operations in Argentina, Chile, and Uruguay. In a statement to Bloomberg, the Canadian company saying it was prioritizing key markets in an effort to boost returns for investors. Nutrien has been in South America for more than a quarter of a century. The company said in its annual report that Argentina's currency controls caused it to lose money when it transferred currency out of the country due to a higher exchange rate. Recently, fertilizer companies have struggled with market volatility after Russia's invasion of Ukraine sent prices higher in 2022, only to drop last year. There's growing speculation China could make a bold move and significantly devalue its currency in an effort to rejuvenate its sluggish economy. Bloomberg reporting this week that those in support of the drastic step argue a sharp depreciation would boost exports and allow the People's Bank of China to lower interest rates. But critics think by devaluing the currency, it could trigger a cycle of capital outflows and further devaluations, even potentially destabilizing global currency markets. Lower beef production and tighter beef supplies could be challenging for U.S. exporters. However, the U.S. Meat Export Federation is trying to expand opportunities for underutilized cuts in several international markets. President and CEO of USMEF, Dan Hallstrom, believes the expanded opportunities for them will endure, even as U.S. beef production rebounds.
The performance on beef was, I think, a pretty good sign because we all know production's down, will remain down for the foreseeable future. But this is really an opportunity for the industry and for USMEF in particular to work on maximizing the value of that carcass and really focusing in on some of the subprimals that might be underperforming. And we've had quite a bit of success on the different cuts within the round primal. knuckles, insides, etc. Outside round flats, a lot of success there in places like Taiwan, Korea, even in Mexico and Central America. We've seen some success on some of these cuts. Shoulder clods, another area of the carcass. And of course, you can't forget variety meats.
Holstrom says Mexico, the Middle East, Korea, South America, and the Caribbean have all seen growth when it comes to variety meats. All right, that's a glimpse around the globe. Well, some farmers fear the new GREET model will force them to switch production practices on their farm just to qualify. But Paul Neiffer is calling the new model just announced not even a dud. We'll talk about it in Chip's Corner next.
Are you thinking of buying a stair lift? This essential free guide will answer all your questions. You can find out how a stair lift can improve your life in a few easy steps with this free guide packed full of detailed information. All of your questions answered. What should I think about when buying a stair lift? What type of stair lift will suit my home? What difference can a stair lift make in my life? Answers to these and many more with this free guide to buying a stair lift. A stair lift can be crucial to you staying independent in your own home. They were invented to make your life easier. And this free practical guide, produced with the help of Acorn Stair Lifts, will make it easier for you to choose the one that's right for you. So call now, 1-800-914-0076 for your free copy of your guide to buying a stair lift, and have all of your stair lift questions answered today. 1-800-914-0076.
Family owned and founded in 1950 in the nation's heartland, Cardinal Scale Manufacturing Company has grown to become the most trusted name brand in truck scales and livestock scales for the agricultural industry. Cardinal Scale manufactures mobile, portable, and static cattle scales for weighing single animals up to large groups. The company's hallmark truck scale is the Armor Digital Truck Scale with smart cell load cells used for heavy capacity vehicle weighing. Check out our website today at cardinalscale.com, and one of our nationwide authorized dealers can discuss installing your next ag scale.
Grounded from Helena is a powerful adjuvant that can take your herbicide application to the next level. It reduces AI loss from UV light and off-target movement while improving deposition and absorption. All to help you unleash precision in every spray application. Spray smarter with Grounded from Helena. Contact your Helena representative to learn more.
Chip's Corner on U.S. Farm Report is brought to you by Grounded. Spray smarter and improve herbicide performance with Grounded, a multifunctional adjuvant from Helena.
Chip's Corner this week, Chip Flory joining us. Chip, we talked about it in our Farm Journal report. Michelle Rook did a nice deep dive into this updated GREET model, what it means, the mixed reaction that it's getting from the industry right now. But this is long awaited. We thought we were going to have this updated GREET model March 1st. They kind of kicked that can down the road, pushed it off a little bit. But I know you've been having conversations about what this means for producers this week as well.
Absolutely, we have, Tyne. And here's the deal. The reason that we have been anticipating this announcement so much is because we thought it was going to have answers for corn growers. And I'm not too sure that there are a lot of answers in this announcement and the adjustments that they made to the GREET model. I've talked to a lot of people about it, including Jolene Risen, the president of the Iowa Corn Growers Association. She sees very, very few bushels qualifying for 40B and actually hopes that what we are looking at right now in the latest GREET model is not a template for the next updates to the GREET model for 45Z. Pro Farmer Policy Analyst Jim Wiesmeyer called it a dud, and we talked with Farm CPA Paul Neiffer about it, and he thinks that's being pretty generous.
Hardly any farmer, I don't think any farmer would meet the criteria in the regulations that came, proposed regulations essentially that came out from the IRS yesterday. And even with that, they have a safe harbor that would only get, the SAF up to about a 53% efficiency level. My understanding is, sugarcane ethanol is at about 61%. So a SAF plant that has the ability to either buy, sugarcane or buy corn ethanol with the safe harbor is still at a disadvantage with corn ethanol versus sugarcane. So yeah, this doesn't even rise to the level of a dud.
Doesn't even rise to the level of a dud, Tyne.
I wish Paul would be more honest with his analysis.
Exactly. When sugarcane-based ethanol out of Brazil holds an advantage to corn-based ethanol out of the Midwest, something is askew. There's no question about it. Something that we need to work on and make that right. Here's another thing, another angle that I want people to think about. Environmental groups, not all, but some environmental groups don't like this great adjustment either, because they say that it threatens to flood the market with corn-based sustainable aviation fuel. They think that the feedstock for SAF should come from something else that is even more environmental than corn-based ethanol. They are not looking for an answer. They're not looking for a solution. They want to keep this as an issue out in front of the people, and at all costs, they do not want the solution to be coming from corn. That is not what some of these environmental groups want. So we need to keep that in mind as we look at some of this analysis as well.
But bottom line, do we need more changes in order to see corn-based sustainable aviation fuel really take flight in this country, Chip?
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely. Okay. Because there's just the hoop to jump through. And Tyne, we haven't even mentioned the documentation. We haven't even mentioned preserving the identity of that corn as it makes its way into the ethanol facility, and then preserving the identity of the ethanol as it makes its way into the sustainable aviation fuel market. There is a lot of red tape and a lot of space to make mistakes in what's there right now. It needs a lot of work before we start turning a lot of corn into sustainable aviation fuel.
Yeah, that's a whole nother set of questions. How do ethanol plants keep this straight? Corn that qualifies versus corn that doesn't. I know there's discussions happening behind the scenes right now talking about that. I'm sure we'll continue to follow it. Chip Flory, host of AgriTalk. You can catch him 10 a.m. Central every day for AgriTalk AM and 2 p.m. Central every afternoon for AgriTalk PM. All right, we need to take a quick break. And then the beginning of the oil industry here in the U.S. It is a moment that changed the course of history. We're traveling the countryside with Andrew McCrae next.
While serving in Afghanistan, I was hit by sniper fire. The fighting was so intense, the medevac chopper was barely able to land. In the hospital, I was given a 5% chance to live. It's a good thing math wasn't my best subject. Today, I visit classrooms and share my story. I talk to kids about dealing with life's struggles. I tell them, with a little help and a lot of work, that you can overcome any challenge.
DAV helps veterans like Adam get the benefits they've earned. They help more than 1 million veterans every year in life-changing ways.
I know that some struggles are big and some are small, but they're all struggles, and you have to learn to get through them. With support from DAV, more veterans like me can live their best life. And as a new father, I have one more reason to keep on keeping on. My victory is being there for the next generation.
Adam Alexander, may your victories inspire many more. Support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
You like to keep your beard perfectly groomed, but she hates all that mess. Now there's VacuTrim by Bell & Howell, the total body shaver that trims your hair and vacuums it up. VacuTrim stainless steel blades give you a precision cut, while the built-in vacuum captures the hair shavings. It has 20 trim settings to shape your beard and tame body hair with no mess. Get VacuTrim with free shipping for only $39.95.
Call 1-800-263-3960. That's 1-800-263-3960 or go to vacutrim.com.
Did you know the United States produces more crude oil than any other country? And the biggest oil producing state by far is Texas. 42.5% of all crude oil production in the U.S. comes from Texas. The next biggest state is actually New Mexico at just 13%. It is big business for Texas, and striking oil for the first time was a pivotal part of American history, as we learn traveling the countryside this weekend with Andrew McCrae.
Today, this land is green space within the city of Beaumont, Texas, but in the early 20th century, it was a bustling place that had an impact on industries throughout the U.S. and the world.
January 10th, 1901, that's when we struck oil, the famous Lucas Gusher.
Gina Summy says there had been speculation for several years that oil was under the ground here, and drilling had been attempted for about 10 years prior. When they did strike oil at a depth of around 1,200 feet, it was an amazing force that came rocketing from the ground. And while they were glad to see the oil they had hoped for, there was now a new problem: how to capture 100,000 barrels of it spewing to the surface every day.
They didn't even have the tools to actually cap the oil to stop it from spewing out. So it took them 9 days. And you can just imagine that the land all around was just covered in oil.
No one had ever seen something like this, and the gusher represented an important point in American history.
It marked the beginning of the petroleum industry, not just for Texas, but for the United States.
The Spindletop Boomtown Museum relives that important event, even recreating the day the Lucas Gusher came to life.
You're in for a treat.
Today it's a gusher of water rather than oil. And with the oil back in 1901 came people. Just as the gold and silver rushes had beckoned thousands westward, this black gold now had people flooding to southeast Texas.
They had about 400 to 500 people traveling in by train by the day, so you can just imagine how big the city grew.
Beaumont's population of 10,000 people swelled to 50,000 people in 3 months' time. Boomtowns like Gladys City, recreated here at the museum, share what life was like. The city was so short on housing, the barber's chairs were rented as sleeping spots, and some people just bought tickets on the train so they could have a place to rest. But over the years, the flow of oil dwindled, and towns like Gladys City faded. Citizens knew this was an important point in the country's industrial history, and while years had passed, the significance of the place was not lost.
They rebuilt the Gladys City, a replica, in around 1976. That's when the museum opened. They dedicated the Spindletop Monument. It was originally at the original site, and they moved it over here because the grounds were, couldn't hold it, but this was a better resting spot for it.
Today you can come and walk the boardwalks and experience many events at Old Gladys City, the place back in 1901 that gave birth to the modern petroleum industry at Spindletop. Traveling the countryside in Beaumont, Texas, I'm Andrew McCrae.
Thank you, Andrew. And you can join him for more travels. There's an entire playlist on the Farm Journal YouTube page. All right, when we come back, evidence that the U.S. milk supply is safe. We tell you about the latest round of testing next.
A challenge is not something to shy from. It's a chance to step up your game, and meet change head on. A call to get your hands dirty and your data clean. A new reason to refocus, reinvigorate, and refine your efforts. With every new challenge comes a choice. Back down or rise to it. The enhanced Channel Seed brand. Rise to the challenge.
Are you having trouble hearing your TV or listening to conversations in loud spaces? Then it might be time to consider Nano hearing aids. Don't mistake Nanos for cheap amplifiers. Nanos are FDA-registered OTC hearing aids, which means no more having to go to a doctor and spend thousands. Nano hearing aids are now offering $100 off through this special TV offer. Order right now and get 2 CIC rechargeable hearing aids for only $297. And if you're not happy, return them for a full refund.
Your wallet is always in danger. Criminals can hack your information without you even knowing. Introducing SlimMint, an ultra-thin RFID blocking wallet that keeps your cards and cash protected. SlimMint uses the latest RFID blocking technology to prevent thieves from stealing your info. It's ergonomically designed to optimize space and keep your belongings organized. With the auto-locking SlimMint, your cards and money stay securely in place. It has a built-in cash clip and a flexible outer band to fit your additional cards rewards and cash. Call or click now and get Slim Mint for just $29.99. Order in the next 5 minutes and you'll get an instant $10 discount. So it's only $19.99. But wait, due to rising costs, this may be your last chance to get Slim Mint at this low price. There's a strict limit of 3 Slim Mint wallets while supplies last. Don't wait. Order now.
Call 1-800-605-4697. Call or visit slimmintwallet.com. So call 1-800-605-4697 now.
Well, more evidence the nation's milk supply is safe. That's after genetic material of avian flu was detected in grocery store milk. The FDA confirming in its first preliminary results that traditional pasteurization is killing the virus. A lab at St. Jude's Children's Hospital taking the genetic material found in the milk, culturing it in live eggs to ensure that it did not regrow. The samples were collected as part of a national commercial milk sampling study. It consists of 297 samples of dairy products collected at stores in 38 states. It says the additional testing did not detect any live infectious virus and that the results again confirm that the nation's milk supply is indeed safe. The agency also says that it tested several samples of retail powdered infant formula, and all those results were negative as well.
And the results they received at the end of the week on Friday determined that the disease, that the illness, the virus was in fact dead. So it would not regrow, would not infect, and pasteurization at the standard times and temperatures under the federal pasteurized milk ordinance is effective.
Herrick telling me this week that more than 99% of all milk and dairy products in our country are pasteurized, and that's what ensures the safety of our commercial milk supply here. And just when milk was needing a bit of a boost, an Olympic gold medalist and popular dairy product are teaming up. Gold medal swimmer Katie Ledecky is partnering with Fairlife's Core Power Drink. The product has served as the official protein drink of Team USA for several years. Fairlife officials said when they heard that the drink was already an important part of Katie's training plan, they knew they found the perfect match. Ledecky is one of the most decorated female athletes of all time. In 2020, she went viral for swimming the length of an Olympic-sized swimming pool with a glass of milk on top of her head. The campaign with Fairlife is due to launch soon. I have never tried to swim with a glass of milk on my head, but I guarantee you that is impossible for the majority of us. Well, thank you so much for joining us this weekend for U.S. Farm Report. We hope to see you next weekend as we work to build on our tradition. Have a great weekend, everyone.
U.S. Farm Report is produced and distributed by Farm Journal Broadcast.